Hey guys, and welcome back to part 2 of head gasket replacement on this 97 Chevy with the 5.7. This process is going to be pretty much the same between all the V8s, the 305s, 350s, and the 454s. Basically years up until about 98, in some cases 99 and 2000. Essentially, if it says Vortec on it and it's not an LS motor, this is going to be the process that you're going to use for all those V8 engines, the 4.8s, the 5.3s, the 6.0s, etc. that they started around 2000 will not apply to this, although those are very similar and in my opinion a lot easier than these to do. Anyway, with all that being said, let's jump right back into it. First thing we're going to do is remove the power steering pump pulley. Okay, you will need a power steering pump pulley remover kit. This one's made by Lang Tools. Snap-on uses the same kit. You can buy the Lang Tools version on Amazon. You don't have to use this one. You can buy cheaper sets. You can rent one from the auto parts store. It's really up to you. The main thing is that you pick the right adapters for your application. So let's go ahead and choose the correct adapters and get this pulley off here. So this part can be tedious and frustrating. Basically here, leverage is your best friend. Um, the forcing screw is what will essentially force the pulley off, but you have to have enough leverage to hold the adapter in place. And doing this in a truck that's tall and you're hunched over, it can be difficult. So just use what you can to increase your leverage. In this case, I started with the bar that it comes with, but I ended up having to put a wrench on the end of the bar to get extra leverage to hold the adapter in place. It's a good idea to clean things up around the intake manifold so nothing falls in to the engine whenever you're pulling it off. So the order here is not super important. You can pull the spark plug wires off, you can pull the plugs out, then you can remove the exhaust manifolds, however you want to do it. The only reason I'm pulling the bolts out for the exhaust manifold first is to get the heat shields out of the way, because it's a lot easier to pull the spark plug wires off with the heat shields out of the way. But like I said, whatever you want to do first, whatever's easier for you, it doesn't really matter. Essentially what we need to do is get the wires out of the way, we need to get the exhaust manifolds detached, and ultimately we'll pull the spark plugs out probably before we pull the heads off. You could do it either way, but it's safer if you just pull them off before you pull the heads out. Okay, so we need to get the distributor cap removed in order to be able to see the ignition rotor because we need to move the engine over to top dead center compression stroke. So there's, it's very important. There's a couple of reasons why we need to do that. The first reason is that this is the proper way to remove and install a distributor is on number one top dead center of the compression stroke. The other reason is because whenever we put the heads back on, this is also where we're going to start adjusting the valves. So in order to get this on number one of top dead center compression stroke, we need to turn the engine over until the timing marks line up. At that point, once the timing marks line up, we'll look at the distributor rotor. If it's pointing at the number one cylinder, then we're in the right place, and that is the number one cylinder as we look at the spark plug wires. So where the number one spark plug wire would come into the distributor cap, that's what we're looking at when we look at the distributor. If it's pointing at number 6, then we need to rotate the crank over another 180 degrees, and that will put us at number 1. A lot of people seem to have trouble with this step, so I've actually made 2 videos separate from this series, one short one and one really long-winded one that go in detail on how to do this. Essentially, what you need to know, you can look at the videos for direction, but what you need to know is that we want this lined up with the timing marks here, and the distributor rotor needs to be pointing at the number one cylinder. So getting ready to wrap this one up, we need to detach the EGR hose from the intake manifold, get rid of this little bypass hose here, remove all the bolts from the intake manifold, and then once all that's done, we'll be able to just pull the intake off. At this point, we're gonna be just about ready to start unbolting the heads.